Welcome. I'm very happy that you could join us again today. This is MLVNG Sound. This is the Open Eye podcast. I am your host and narrator, westthefree. I'm going to jump into this recording again and get started with season number 1, Being a Man, and this is episode number 3. Today, the main topic is about self-evaluation, evaluation of the self, and life architecture, being able to design the kind of life that you want to have. It's not exactly the easiest thing to do. So to start it off, I was really taken aback by a quote I came across by a lady named Marianne Williamson from A Return to Love, Reflections on the Principles of a Course in Miracles. And it basically says it takes courage to endure the sharp pains of self-discovery rather than choose to take the dull pain of unconsciousness that would last the rest of our lives. And to unpack this really, you have to break it down into the two things that seemingly drive us. It is living a life that meets the standard we have in our mind, or creating that life if it is not present. And you often find that some people are chasing a vision, they are chasing this idea of where they want to be, and other people are chasing this idea of where they would like to return to, whether it's a location, a time, a person, a memory, whatever. And both of those perspectives, or both of those yearnings and ideologies, are severely lacking in that that's not where you are. And even if it takes you 2 decades to get to that point, what's to say that it's going to be as fulfilling or enriching? When I was much, much younger, I remember I went to my dad. I wanted a pair of Air Jordans, and he just wouldn't buy them for me. And he told me that I had to find my own way to get the pair of Jordans. So I did. The entrepreneurial boy that I was, I went out and I made a plan. And after securing the shoes, the enjoyment lasted probably no longer than an hour. After that, it was just another shoe. I don't even know what happened to that shoe, but it would re-echo in my life with different things. Unfortunately, even with different people, because the reason why I had wanted to secure those things was very ego-driven. And as men, we have this very large ego that revels in the affirmation that comes from our peers, the feedback when we achieve and we're able to show off our accomplishments, our toys, our trinkets, our status symbols, our titles. And when it's good, it's good. But we fail to understand that nothing lasts. This shoe, like in my life, it fits perfectly. But you take this shoe and you try to put it into your life, it may be a size too small, a size too big. So it's really not one size fits all. Unfortunately, however, even when the shoe does fit, there's no guarantee that it's going to be pleasing, because so long as you're living from the outside in as opposed to living from the inside out, you're always going to be missing something. Which brings us to the evaluation of self and life architecture. You find yourself in a position where life has kicked you, it has knocked you out, you failed again, you've tried your best to come back up, and nothing seems to be working. What do you do now? Where do you even begin? Where do you pick yourself up from? Or perhaps you succeeded. You've gone and climbed that pyramid, you've climbed that mountain, you've reached the pinnacle, you've reached the top. And now everything you wanted it doesn't seem to be worth as much. It seems as human beings, we're always constantly jumping between different states of anxiety. Either we're anxious because of the lack, or perhaps we're anxious because of the abundance. Either we're bored, or we're fearful, or something to take our attention away from the immediate truth of what's before us. And I value the lessons of Stoicism so much because there's a line in there that says, regardless of what you do, you will meet your end. So why fret? Whether it's annihilation or metamorphosis, irrespective of whatever course of action you take, that's where you're going. So why not take a course of action in this moment right now that is best for you? And to do that, you have to get into the nature of life architecture. Like any architect, like any builder, like any mason, it's not snap of a finger, everything gets done. No, it's a little bit more complicated than that. You'll often hear children or the uninitiated when they pray or they ask for something. It has a lot to do with I, me, and the reason has to do with the effect that it's going to have on the I and the me. But for the advanced, when you ask more for a capacity to use strength and power, the skills that have been given to you to get further and closer to the very things that your heart desires. But for one who's already gone through the beginning phases, the initiation rites, and graduated fully in an understanding of this life, then you ask for nothing. You ask for nothing because you know that whatever is handed to you is the very tool that you needed to be able to build this architecture that you need for your life. And to build it, you have to understand that you're going to have many, many storms in your life. And most of them will catch you by surprise. The easy ones to notice are the ones that come in the form of hardship. The hard ones are the ones that come in the form of success. So you have to learn to understand the environment or the waters which you are swimming in, and you have to be adaptable, very quickly adapt. And you have to be very capable of alchemy almost, to be able to go within yourself and find the tools, not an external manifestation of the things you need, but understanding that there's an internal power that can allow you to bring that about. And you also need a tremendous amount of patience. And you need to also have a reverence for the four companions, as I like to say, in your life that are going to be a constant. Number one being time. Time, you have to learn to respect it. You have to learn to love it. You have to learn to make a friend with it, because it is unyielding. It's unrelenting. It is indifferent to everything you can do. But when you work in alignment with time, it will give you the best gifts. The second companion would be change. Change is, along with time, a constant that you cannot run away from. Entropy is something that wreaks havoc in all our lives. The beautiful young girl will become the old lady, granted that she lives a long life. The new car will be the outdated model. You can go on about how things are never in one state, a perpetual state of being. They're always changing. The third one, which in this generation seems to be wreaking havoc on a lot of people's lives, would be fear. The fear that things may not go your way. The fear that you may not be able to achieve or perform once the gauntlet is thrown your way. The fear. But you have to acknowledge that fear is a teacher. And like any other teacher, it's going to give you exams. And they're going to be difficult. But so long as you have the confidence within you that you can ascertain the success that comes along with putting in that requisite effort at a 100% capacity, then really the last companion you have to face, and the one which you will have the least amount of experience with, time will be there and has been there even before you were conscious of who you were. Change will be here long after you're gone. Fear is a perpetual thing that we all are aware of and interact with on a daily basis. All three of these. But the fourth one is death. There you only get one kiss. You only get one handshake. You only get one glance. And even those who say they cheated death, it was near. It comes in many different forms. But to cheat it simply means it's not your time. And when you understand these four forces and you respect them and you show them love, you find yourself really before your life like a canvas. And to approach this, you cannot approach it with the paradigms and the conditioning and the lessons and the beliefs and the education that you've been given prior to this moment here. In this very moment, you need to take what I've come to know as the blank canvas mindset. You need to set aside not only the bad things, not only the limiting things, but everything. You have to ignore every assumption. You have to ignore every ideation that you might have of thinking that you even slightly know a little bit. If you knew the capacity to which your blind spot limits you, if you knew just how much you do not even comprehend, if you knew just how much is out of your control, you wouldn't even bother worrying about anything ever again. But as people, we are anxiety ridden and fearful. And it takes a great exercise on your mental faculties to be able to maintain this state of control over yourself. And to do this, you need a certain evaluatory litmus of questions that you're going to outline for yourself. And for me, I found that being brutally honest, like a painter who's standing before a canvas and understanding that there's nothing there. If you let the process take you, you're going to come up with something absolutely beautiful. But if you come with preconceived notion of what it should look like, you're going to end up replicating a piece that looks like someone else's piece. And in this generation, if you make an artwork that looks like someone else's, you're most likely going to find yourself in a court of law for infringing on copyrights. But that's just a piece of art. Look at your life in the same light and begin by understanding that as a painter uses brushes or a sculptor may use chiseling tools, your canvas is your life and your equipment is your choices, and that's all you have. So number one, you have to define the problem you now face. You have to define it as clearly, as concisely, as accurately as you can with brevity. You need to define how this position has come into being. Was it by your own accord? Was it because of someone else? Was it because of conditions outside of your control? And you have to outline all the options that you see before you. What can you do in this immediate moment right now? And then you have to outline a realistic timeline of how soon you can begin acting and what is the frequency of action you're going to have to take. What habits are you going to have to put in place? That's number one. Number two, you have to have a mindset that is focused only on solving the problem and finding the answers. You have to eliminate all other assumptions, all other expectations, all other desires. And with this blank canvas mindset, you approach it like a baby who knows that he knows nothing. You don't know how to walk, you don't know how to talk, and therefore you pay attention to your environment and you laser focus, you zoom in on that thing that you want. Is it walking that you want? Is it talking that you want? Is it singing that you want? Is it money that you want? Is it relationships that you want? When you're able to zoom in and laser focus and you're able to be clear and concise with what you desire, then you have to make sure that you don't get back into the habits and the thinking and the behavior that got you in this position in the first place. So you have to outline all the changes you are now willing to make, as painful as they may be. This may mean losing friends, losing girlfriends, losing relationships, losing money. In quoting Bukowski, you may even lose your mind. But in following your legend and building your legend, you have to understand that nothing in this world is sweeter than actualizing your own potential. And to actualize your own potential, you have to wake up. You have to wake up from whatever slumber you've been in. You have to wake up from this idea that the world somehow owes you something just for being here. The world was here first. You have to get away from this immature, childish thinking that there's some force out there that's against you that's trying to get you. No. Your life is your life. It's a canvas. It's a blank canvas that up until now you haven't even tried to make some effort of putting a dent, putting a mark, not even a signature. Because although you may have had some level of success, although you may have had some level of traction, although you may have gotten somewhere, the only way that it truly counts as life architecture, the only way it truly counts as you building the reality that you truly want is if it was intentional from the very beginning. And this is what differentiates people who succeed from people who fail. Once you give yourself no way out, once you've defined very clearly, this is what is going to happen, this is what I'm going to do, this is where I am going, well, everything else really just becomes the way. Whatever may challenge you, whatever may hinder you, you no longer see it as a reason to give up. You no longer see it as something that's stopping you. Rather, you see it as the next mission. You see it as the next thing that needs to be done. Say you're painting and you run out of paint. Well, the mission now is to get more paint. And once you have more paint, you're going to continue painting. Say your canvas is ripped and something goes wrong there. Well, now you have to get a new canvas and you have to start over. Say something comes and takes you away from what you're doing, be it health related or finance related. You have to put whatever you're doing on pause and focus into getting back into that zone that allows you to be absolutely focused on getting to your end. Now, some people look at pausing or resting or taking care of the necessities as giving up. It's not. It's not at all. Being able to have a plan of action and breaking through the barriers and the challenges that are needed, you need to be absolutely strategic with how you're going to be painting this canvas and how you're going to be designing this life of yours. Therefore, who are you going to be engaging in? What relationships are necessary in allowing you to fulfill this plan? And on top of everything else, you also have to understand that you may have a path, you may have a way, you may have an answer that you follow for a period of time, and for whatever reason, you need to change all of a sudden and start over. Keeping the objective before you is the only way you're going to be a successful life architect for your own life. And understanding that barriers, they're not there to hinder you, they're not there to stop you, they're not even there to irritate you. They're there to ask you a simple question. Do you want it more than everyone else who's been here before? Because I can guarantee you, whatever you're going to go after, you're not the first person to try. What's going to make you different is how hard you try, how long you try. And as far as being a life architect, being an idea mechanic, being someone who can take something from conception to inception to being able to come up with a roadmap of how you're going to bring that into manifestation, it's a kind of superpower. We must destroy in order to build. For a woman who wants to have a baby, she has to sacrifice her body, her comfort, her sleep for many months and years, in fact. Someone who wishes to actualize their natural talent and win a gold medal has to forsake oftentimes their social life and other things they would have done in that time to to be the top of your academics, business, whatever. Everything has a price. And the price is tied into how you use your time, how you deal with change, the way you face fear, and your approach to the inevitable death that is coming before you. We must destroy in order to build. And we must build in order to slow down the destruction that is change. In closing, you have to review this blank canvas mindset as the best thing that you could do for yourself when you are stuck, when you are in that hole where nothing seems to make sense, where a generation as technologically advanced as we are and as connected as we are is dealing with the highest prevalence of drug abuse, suicides, addiction, depression. This tells you something. It tells you that the comforts that have been put before you, the wealth of resources and access, it's actually done the exact opposite to what we thought it was going to do. It's put us in a position where we're afraid to take action because there's so much before us, but you have to make the choice. If you want wealth, if you want health, if you want relationships, if you want your legacy to be something lasting as a man, then you have to understand that it's an extremely personal journey. It's you, and you. The way to fixing it all is you've got to let go and you've got to start. Not start over, start. You cannot start over if you never truly started. And this time it has to be in truth. The truth is 3 parts. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And is this the best way that I could do it? It's not easy. It requires a level of introspection and a level of honesty that you cannot maintain for long periods of time without feeling as if you're losing your mind. And this is where accountability comes into play. Having brethren around you who can hold you accountable, people who can give you the guidance and training that you need, the support that helps you, it's crucial, it's vital, it's something that you cannot go and think you're going to make it on your own. Collaboration is necessary because although the legacy is yours, although the legend is yours, although the road is yours and you're going to do this alone, you're going to need help. And that help is essential. The help allows you to see for the first time through the perspective of other people. If you believe in your vision strong enough, you will get support. You will have people who will cheer you on and they will root for you. But you have to destroy, you have to create. You have to destroy and create and repeat over and over and over until you've made your masterpiece. It will be messy, it will be ugly, it will be lonely. But in the end, it will be worth it. And you know I'm right.